Hey everybody, I am Kurt Wookert Jr. here with Matthew John, and we together are the crypto traders from CryptoTradersPro.com. If you are looking at the screen, which I hope you are seeing the new CryptoTradersPro.com. Matthew and I have been working with our internet team, the delightful Natalie Wookert and Jay Kuntal, working on putting together what's ended up being a really, really nice website. Check it out. We've added a whole bunch of new options for monthly memberships, yearly memberships, and kind of just reorganize the way that we're doing everything. Also an introduction to Moonrocket Capital, which is incoming ASAP, I promise you everybody, as well as our merchant adoption point of sale solutions stuff, which is all working there. But check out CryptoTradersPro.com, completely new, completely redone, all kinds of new fun stuff for you to check out and share with your friends and family and talk about crypto on the regular. But today's video, we are going to be talking about Ethereum, the Ethereum hard fork, and everything you need to know about it. So let's go over a little bit of background. Ethereum was created by Vitalik Buterin because Bitcoin, BTC, did not want to have any scripting language at all. They didn't want to have any smart contracts working on their network. So Vitalik Buterin put together Ethereum with the help of Charles Hoskinson and some other folks that are now part of other projects for the most part, to have a smart contract platform that can do everything in the universe. However, it's extremely inefficient. It is a Turing-complete computer or distributed computer system. Think of it like a supercomputer that's run on a bunch of computers. It is GPU mined almost exclusively, and Ethereum wants to keep it that way. With this new upgrade, after a couple of splits, a number of hacks, the DAO hack, the creation of Ethereum Classic, a whole bunch of other history, Google it. There's a bunch of interesting stuff about that. We are coming up to what is going to be 2019's roadmap, which will bring us from the sort of Ethereum that you knew from yesteryear to being a completely different animal called Casper, which is the full change of proof of stake. However, this upgrade is called Constantinople and is kind of the baby step between the Ethereum of yore and the Ethereum of the future. However, there's going to be a couple of airdrop coins because there's a couple of groups of people that want to go different directions. If you are looking at the screen, which again, I hope you are, you're looking at the Ethereum Classic Vision version of the fork here. So some group came together. They want to do it a little bit differently than the Vitalik and crew. I would tend to think that this is some sort of a scam fork. You get 3 of this Ethereum Classic Vision coin for every 1 ETH that you hold, which brings me to my first point, is that you need to be holding your private keys for your Ethereum. You can do this with my Ether wallet. You can do this with MetaMask. You can do this with Ledger Nano or any other wallet where you control your Ethereum private keys. If you control your private keys, you can claim your Ethereum Classic Vision as soon as the snapshot occurs or as soon as they give you the tools to do it.
Well, let me ask you this, because I'm sure a lot of people are going to be wondering, if I hold my coins on Binance, if I'm holding Ethereum on Binance, do you think Binance is going to distribute this as well, or no?
They have not announced whether they are going to distribute their Ethereum Classic Vision or the Ethereum NOWA or Nova. I'm not sure how you pronounce it. I guess if it's Russian, it'd be Nova, but if it's English, it's NOWA. They have said that they're going to support the Constantinople upgrade. So if you keep your Ethereum on Binance, OKX, Huobi, and a few other exchanges, they will just upgrade your coins for you, and you'll get like the main consensus chain going forward. But they have not made announcements about Ethereum Classic Vision or the Ethereum Nova chain. So those are iffy. My guess is they would not. The larger exchanges tend not to go with these low cap coins. This will probably be a number 200 market cap coin or something when it actually hits. So I bet someone like HitBTC might do something like that, but it's probably not going to be the case at places like Binance. Let's talk a little bit about the proof of work here. So one of the contentious issues that's being worked on as we speak, it's been kind of the contentious issue here, and the reason now that there's 3 versions that's going to be coming out of this is that there was talk about keeping GPU mining and then talk about whether they're going to switch to ASIC or allow ASICs to compete. And ultimately, the decision was made that they were going to continue to block ASICs, sort of, as this baby step in Constantinople. So GPU miners are pissed off. You've got these developer centralization which is what I always think of when I think of ASIC resistance, is that you have people that are actively investing in improving the security of your network by developing an efficient computer system that can mine the network, and you are going to block them out simply because you are Vitalik Buterin and you know better than somebody who's willing to invest $1 million or $10 million in developing an ASIC. So this is like the main issue in cryptocurrency, is the balance of security, decentralization of mining versus the efficiency of mining versus your eco-friendly aspects of it all. And it's all coming to play here in the Constantinople fork. Now, we saw Ethereum dip to about $80 on the main dip of November and December that we experienced here in 2017. Looks like that was the place to buy because Ethereum has been one of the leaders coming up. Ethereum dipped below the market cap of XRP, but now is roaring back. And I'm going to hand it over to Matt as he goes over the chart and take a peek at what we can think of the value of Ethereum as it pertains to fiat currency or Bitcoin going forward. So Matt, what do you think?
So right now I've been getting a lot of questions about Ethereum from our pro group. Is this something to jump into now? Is it something to hold off on? Is this going to be a potential shorting opportunity? And to answer that, I would say right now looking at a long position is something I would deem extra risky. That being said, there might be a potential shorting opportunity coming up, but I'm not sure how it's going to react to this fork. Sometimes they really like to pump up to the fork, and then as soon as that fork happens, it just crumbles right below. Other times, it just keeps on going. But right now, we're looking at some overhead resistance happening. All right here on the chart, it was previous support right between 167 all the way up to $200. It tested in this area once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, and then it broke down below all the way to $80. Now it's kind of riding back up there and just testing this area now as resistance. I think it's very risky for a long right now. I'm not looking for an entry on Ethereum. I think there's plenty of other opportunities out there. I think the boat has already sailed on Ethereum. I think the best entry was around $100 or less. That's when we were actually talking about entering this in the pro group. But right now, it's just too risky. I don't see this as a good risk-reward opportunity. I don't think it's worth it to try and collect the 4 coins, the free coins you're going to get. They're probably not going to be worth much. No. Right now, I would stay away.
Yep. Well, and there's a lot of other politics going on in Ethereum. For a long time, there was this discussion. In 2017, Ethereum got as close as it ever did to flipping BTC for the #1 spot. That was probably peak Ethereum hype in the middle of summer in 2017. I think they got within about 20% of each other's market cap, with Bitcoin contracting the most and Ethereum coming up really high. But both actually have a scaling issue. I think Bitcoin's scaling issue predicated its drop, and then when a bunch of action moved over to Ethereum, we saw that Ethereum also has a scaling issue. So then it also has this issue in flipping with XRP, and so the Ethereum's in a really weird spot where Ether is itself a cryptocurrency, but people aren't really sure what its value is if they're not some kind of high-level developer, a smart contract developer. So it's not really meant to be a currency where you would go buy coffee. But the use case of it, the launch of dApps and smart contracts, is also not really crystal clear. And the argument from the XRP community is that, well, XRP can do it cheaper, easier, faster, and everything too. So then it's like, well, do we need Ethereum to replace Bitcoin? No, that doesn't really make any sense. And then do we need to replace XRP? And no, that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense either. So there's a lot of trying to figure out exactly what and why Ethereum exists, what it exists to do. And a lot of that stuff is kind of unclear, frankly. And now the roadmap is a little more muddied by the existence of things like EOS at #5 on the chart. We have things like ADA Cardano, we have Tron, we have IOTA, all things that are kind of competing all for the same basic use case, kind of sucking value out of the Ethereum ecosystem in much the same way that Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin SV are sucking away some of that use case maximalism away from BTC. And then to a lesser degree, things like Litecoin, Monero, Dash, everything else. So you've got a bunch of coins competing to be the main payment coin, and then a bunch of coins competing to be the main smart contract coin. And I think it's interesting that the top 2 are actually the least efficient and most expensive versions of those use cases. So it's hard to say long-term unless something absolutely crazy happens. I'm not a big fan of proof of stake. I think the proof of stake function in Ethereum that's coming up this year is not the greatest direction to go, much the same way that I don't think Lightning Network is the greatest direction to go with Bitcoin. But, we're not experts on everything. But when I look at their roadmaps, I see long, complicated roadmaps as compared to some of the other coins that are more nimble. They've got less political baggage and everything else. And I think we could be in for a really wild year in 2019.
Do you think that Ethereum's value is being propped up by all the tokens that are built on top of it?
100%. I think Ethereum is the coin of about 2,000 unfulfilled promises. And a lot of them are super interesting. I mean, there's a lot of great use cases with Ethereum tokens, but the real question is do any of them have value outside of Ethereum? And if the answer is no, the team can't really migrate without help from Ethereum's core developers or just the presence of Vitalik Buterin, I think it's a really dangerous point of centralization that makes Ethereum a pretty shaky investment. Vitalik is only about 24 or 25 years old. He has no real business experience. He's a coder. He's a brilliant coder, but he's not the kind of person that should have the weight of billions and billions of dollars on his shoulders because he doesn't have experience there. And since we're treading out into new waters, this could be a Bill Gates situation, who was roughly the same in 1985. He was a young coder with very little experience. But, all of that is, bet big, win big, or bet big, lose big. And frankly, I think it's still too early to call. I'm not super bullish in the very long term on Ethereum, especially with lots of the big competitors coming up. And the fact that he's moving to proof of stake, I think proof of work is key for decentralization. And making himself the figurehead that can make those kind of decisions to fork away from proof of work kind of makes him a target to be either exploited or threatened or taken over. And if Vitalik says it, then it is the direction for Ethereum. And that's actually a really dangerous thing.
Looking at this chart, though, for 2019, something that is super interesting is the amount of volume. This is the all-time high volume, and it's been consecutive over the past several weeks. We saw large selling volume, which was most likely from a lot of these ICOs or tokens that were struggling to stay afloat. They just sold it all and said, they had to get USD to pay their overhead bills and stuff. So that was kind of that capitulation. And now we're seeing the opposite of that, people buying it up. And it's very interesting to see. But right now on the charts, we've had 3 strong green weeks. It's headed right into resistance right now. Looking at this from a 2019 play, kind of a longer term, is we're probably going to see these coins double bottom before that real bottom is in. So I would probably bet on a rejection off this resistance level, and we come back down, maybe double bottom, or we set a higher low. But this volume is a really good sign to me as a trader, knowing that people are still interested in this to be buying it in such large amounts.
Yeah, and there is a bullish case, obviously, for Ethereum long term as well. Assuming Casper, or let's assume Constantinople is successful, then Casper is successful, and then some of these dApps actually start to roll out into the real world. A lot of people consider Ethereum a blue chip cryptocurrency. I think it's unreasonable because it hasn't shown that it has actual real world value yet, but it has shown that it can maintain a certain amount of value as compared to Bitcoin and as compared to other assets around the cryptosphere. So I think it's premature to call Ethereum a blue chip, but in many ways, perception is reality. And if a lot of people treat it that way, it can just frankly become that by sheer willpower from the community. So Ethereum is one to really keep an eye on. If Ethereum goes down, we're going to see about 1,000 coins or so go with it. So in many ways, a lot of people should be hoping for Ethereum to do well, especially if you're a long-term hodler that has walked their portfolio through 90% losses since the beginning of 2018.
What about NOWA? What is this all about?
So just like Ethereum Classic Vision, it's just another version, obviously slightly different consensus rules. And it's all based around who's going to mine and how it's going to mine and exactly what the miner reward is. So the economics of it are, a holder. So if you're holding Ethereum, you want there to be a lower emission rate because that raises the value of your holdings. However, if you're a miner, you want a higher emission rate because you want a greater reward for your mining. And so you've got this fight between the miners and the users and the devs as to what the actual most valuable thing to do for Ethereum is long term. And since nobody on earth is willing to just play nice and fight for real consensus, Well, everybody likes to fork and make their own coin with slightly different consensus rules. So that's really what's going on here. It's very similar to, how we now have BTC, BCH, and BSV. I mean, there's not that much different about all three coins, but the little differences that exist are significant, and they bear out very different network economics over the long term.
Isn't ETN electronium?
It is, or maybe was. I haven't looked at electronium on the chart in a long time.
It's funny,
so
they're taking their ticker, but
yeah,
I thought this was
bold.
pretty interesting, this comparison. The supply increasing, and then you get down to scaling, and this transactions per second, a dozen.
Yeah. Now, it's interesting. I mean, it's fascinating. The beauty of proof of stake is obviously speed, but you're giving up what I think is decentralization. I think it's really interesting that the Ethereum developers talk about proof of stake being more decentralized because you're cutting out the miners. But the way I see it is that right now you have developers competing with miners for the money of users. And if you switch to proof of stake, you're getting rid of miners. So you're getting rid of one of the competing factions. And I don't see how that becomes more decentralized by disallowing a certain faction of your community to compete, because you're centralizing the use to people that are holders, people that were early adopters, and that's only weighted against the whims of the protocol developers. So in my opinion, it's clearly more centralized when you switch to proof of stake, especially as it bears out in the long term, because the people that have the most are also gaining the most from their stake, so they continue to pull away from the rest of the community. I'm not a big fan. I think a great example is that the fiat economy is proof of stake. We receive money from central banks, and those central banks are based around people that owned all the gold and property generations ago, and they distribute it to us how they see fit. Whereas proof of work in the real world, it assumes that we all start at roughly the same place and have the ability to be entrepreneurs or just really hardworking people in the economy. And whoever provides the most value earns the most money. So that's the difference there. Obviously, it's a worldview thing. If you lean toward a Keynesian economic model, you might be more proof of stake. Whereas if you lean toward a Misesian or a Hayek model, you might be more in favor of proof of work. You could break it down to something as simple as capitalism versus communism, or capitalism versus socialism, or free markets versus, Bolshevism or whatever. But it's the worldview fight of our lives every damn day in crypto.
Don't you think this looks kind of scammy or unprofessional, the way they have they have this set up as like a token sale. Send Ethereum to our address, and now you can get ETN.
Yeah, I don't like this at all. I think the way this is set up looks very, very sketchy. And that's the nature of it. It's the same as when Monero forked at the end or in the middle of 2017. There was a major split, and I think 5 versions of Monero made it out of that. There was Monero Classic. There was another version of Monero Classic. There was Nero, and a couple other versions, and they all were kind of like that, just like, okay, so you turn the logo a little bit purple and whatever else. There's all these blockchains. And, again, when we look back at it 6 months later, there is one functional Monero blockchain, and that's the blockchain that people are going to use. And I think it's going to be much the same with Ethereum following the Constantinople chain, and we'll get to see where it goes long term.
So you think this is more of a money grab?
Absolutely. I don't think anybody cares. Do we need another? Because what is this? This is actually another Ethereum Classic. And if you've ever looked at an Ethereum Classic block explorer, there's very, very little going on the Ethereum Classic blockchain, which means we certainly don't need 2 more competitors on the Ethereum concept.
Yeah, but it does look like this hard fork happens on the 12th, whereas the other one, Ethereum Classic Vision, happens on the 11th.
Yep. And then the main Constantinople upgrade, I believe, is on the 16th. So what they're doing is they're taking a snapshot at a certain block.
Okay.
And then moving forward from there.
And you get these 1-to-1 ETN, and you get ETCV at a 1-to-3. So every Ethereum you're holding, you get 3 Vision.
Absolutely. What a lucky bunch of people we are.
But yeah, from looking at it from the charts, unless you're holding Ethereum long term and it's something you are very against selling, right now it looks very risky entering this as a potential trade, so I'm just completely ignoring the fork like it's a non-event. And it might already be priced in, which also generally happens with these forks. So I'd be very careful looking at a long position right now.
Yep. So everybody, that's it. That's everything you need to know about the Ethereum fork. Please, again, check out CryptoTradersPro.com. We just worked really hard to update it. We've got all kinds of good information for you there. And also like, share, subscribe. Join us on YouTube all the time. We try to do our best to put out really, really good content, really functional, useful stuff to help you be a crypto savage and make money at the same time. Please also follow us on Twitter. Join us on Facebook. Join us on Instagram and everywhere else where media is socialized. Does that sound right? I don't know. But until next time, I'm Kurt Wilker Jr. with my dear friend Matthew John, wishing you well and hoping to see you on the moon.
On the moon. See you, everybody.